Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for honoring me to come here and express my views on the topic we have today, that is sustainability and DRR in architecture. Thank you very much for the introduction as well. I'm also grateful to Dr. Raza as well that he at least made the base for me to start my presentation on the topic. He quite aptly and wisely related two phenomena. One is urbanization, through which we are already, our society is passing through, the whole world is passing through, and the other entity was climate change. And both these environments and realms we are passing through is because of our vision, is because of our settlement pattern. I mean to say that, yes, climate change phenomena is a real thing, which is hurting you and me and the whole humanity. But we are also contributor to that phenomena, and that is through our settlement pattern, and that is through urbanization system we have. So my topic, my discussion is on understanding how urbanization is going on in our country, how we can address to that, how we can change the system so that they move towards more sustainability patterns, and how that sustainable patterns can help us out in alleviating so many issues our society is facing at the moment. It's either poverty, discrimination, considerable reduction in quality of life standards, etc., etc. So our society is passing through that. So my objective is very small, but very clear as well. And I will try my best that my message is passed on to all the intellectuals we have today, to all the policy makers who are sitting in the governments, and to the people at large. So, is talking about human settlements, urbanization, urbanism. I am glad to know that here the School of Architecture also carries the term urbanism. So the art and the way to live in a sustainable urban pattern is obviously a very good artistic goal. Anyhow, if you want to understand the human settlement pattern, which contributes to climate change, which contributes to all havocs and hazards, human-induced disasters, and that is through our living patterns. So one must do not ignore that the whole urbanism system rests in dichotomy. Human beings live either in villages for last thousands of years, and human beings are living also in megapolises and global cities. Today we witness through. So we have to look at that issue in dichotomy. And human knowledge base call this science as escapism. That our system, our environment, if it is divided into two, we tend to analyze it. And then we come forward to have some sustainable options. So, escapism is the science through which we can address the urbanism, sustainable urbanization pattern in any country or region. I am sharing with you that was one of the assignment done by the students of UET. We just gave them the exercise how you rate any settlement, be urban or rural. Just in the class, they came up with around 39 indicators that, okay, through these indicators we can assess which one can be characterized as a urban settlement or the other one as rural settlement. And by judging through these criteria, one can also able to understand which living is good living, either urban or rural or both. I think solution doesn't lie in one type of living. It is a combination. It is interdependency. It is interconnectedness. If rural and urban setting is merged together in a sustainable pattern, in a very coordinated manner, then obviously the challenge we are having today, like climate change, like so many disasters, and the disasters are on the increasing trend. They are not following. The solution lies in a very good interconnected symbiotic relationship between the two. Talking about urbanization is not a thing which we and others don't understand. We are witnessing it, and every day it is happening. But the way it is happening is the problem. And that is my statement of problem, that the current trends of urbanizations are lopsided, they are not sustainable, they are fixed on some specific centers of investment, centers of population, centers of knowledge, everything. That kind of concentration is in fact a problem. So urbanization can happen in any country, or it can be, it cannot be happening in any other system as well. It happens only when the ratio of urban population tend to increase in relation with the rural settlements. If it is static, although the population is growing, the urbanization is not happening. There have been many solutions in the world, not only in this century, in the previous centuries, and in many hundred years back. One of the solutions was by Walter Christoller, and he was the one who applied not only in his research, but it was applied in Western Germany as well. He was the person who said that don't go for that dichotomic relationship. Let's come and plan our regions and towns in a very sustainable manner, where every village is counted, where every urban settlement is part of planning process. So in this way, he planned the whole Western Germany and the Southern Germany, and that is one of the design which includes the villages as the smallest unit, and then through evolutionary process and through gradual process, he provided a platform or a system through which a hierarchy of settlements can be established. And that was practically applied in Southern Germany as well. Talking about urbanization per se, I think it is a thing which ought to happen, and it is happening every day. But there are limits to that as well. There have been times in the history when the contribution of urban population was quite small, but it was not absent. So we call that era or stage as initial stage of urbanization. And everybody knows, I think, the 80-20 rule, under 1822, that 80% was rural settlements, rural population, and all over the world and in different regions, 20% were the town or urban population. But after industrial revolution, things went on quite rapidly. What happened in that phase of history, and Pakistan is also going through, that from this S curve, that J curve became a reality. And you believe it or not, Pakistan is passing through that stage. We are passing through that urbanization phase where people are leaving their original places, they are rushing towards quite few urban centers. And some of the audience also talk about the huge demand for real estate sector, expansion of cities, and the urbanization systems we are passing through. This is witnessed by all of us. So we are passing through that phase. Eventually, it will fall down, it will come to its highest level, and the world may face that situation, including Pakistan, where 20% will live in the rural settlements, villages, and the 80% will rest in the urban settlements. So imagine, that is going to happen in Pakistan as well, so 80% population. We have to plan for urban settlements. So this is a big question mark for all of us. Unless or until we plan our systems and the region in a way that all the urban and the rural settlements are planned in an integrated way, we can't face that challenge which is happening day by day. Let's go through some figures, what is happening in Pakistan, although some of the figures are just assumed ones because the census has been rescheduled again because of some of the disagreement on the stats. Anyhow, we can see the trend. Here is the urban population which is showing a continuous increasing trend. And this second column is indicating the number of centers which are accommodating all that increasing urban population. If we look at this column, we can understand that it's not increasing trend. Rather, it is changing with time. Sometimes increasing trend and sometimes decreasing trend also. So now my previous explanation that the people who are engaged in non-agricultural activities, they are having increasing trend. But the centers which are going to accommodate them, they are static. And this is the real issue of urbanization in Pakistan. Unless or until we create new urban centers, we are not able to face that challenge. Rather, we will be one of the factors which will aggravate the situation, and that very alarming trend. Well, if we talk about theoretically the urban systems in Pakistan and the way it is happening, it is based on empirical research and some of the findings of United Nations agencies and individual researchers as well. In case of Pakistan, the urbanization which is portrayed, which is figured out, it's not the real. So we have enormous urbanization level which is hidden in its nature. Nobody is counting it. With reference to Professor M.A. Kadir, who wrote book on Lahore city as well. He is Professor Emeritus in Canada, in one of the premier institutions. He coined the term urbanization by inclusion. He said that even our larger villages in our regions, many of them have a population of 15,000, even 20,000, and they have a very high density levels. They have other than agricultural occupations as well. By any definition, they can be counted in urban centers, but they are counted on the rural side. So, in case of Pakistan, urbanization is hidden urbanization. It's also one of the traits in Pakistan's case. We are not managing it. We are not controlling it. Today's discussion on every agenda regarding architecture, planning, or any civil engineering, urban design, urban infrastructure as well, we are talking about the master planning process and the master planning output for the Lahore city. And we know that whether we go for plan or we leave the city as it is, city is expanding. It is expanding day by day, and it is expanding beyond its limits. So runaway urbanization, uncontrolled urbanization. By lopsided urbanization, I mean to say, and this is also a fact in case of Pakistan, that we are relying on very few urban settlements. My previous slide was an indicator to that fact. So we are dependent on just few urban centers, and we are not thinking beyond that. Another element, the institutional framework under which human settlements are planned, human settlements are managed, governed. They are through local government systems. And the history of local government system in Pakistan is a very, very painful history. It is the system which is the third tier of the government. It has never been in practice, and it has never been utilized for that very important problem Pakistan is facing here. And the last one is that our cities are becoming expensive cities as well. We talk about the prices, the real estate business, and I think maybe the whole nation is in that business. If whole nation is in that business, something is going to happen in the marketing, and the prices are reaching out of the extent of the poor, which still comprises a larger segment of our society. So if we characterize the whole urbanization system in Pakistan, I think these are some conclusive findings which guide us what's the problem, how it is happening, and how we can manage it in the future as well. Future. Again, I rely on the stats. What is happening in case of Pakistan? I just took the data from the census, and it was about 1998 census, because at the moment it is the only believed stat. God help us when new census will give us the right and the latest stats. But if we just work on that, you see the picture of it's only Punjab province. I'm not talking about at the moment whole Pakistan. You just go through that data. There are around 2,000 plus. I'm talking about 98. The picture in 2017 can be very encouraging if we follow what we are going to do. But even 98 stats are very clear. Around 2,000 settlements can be upgraded. and given the status of urban centers. And what will happen? You will have so many choices to invest. You will have so many choices to live. You will have so many choices for other working occupations for the society. And if we just, if we reduce our criteria and we try to consider villages which have a population up to 5,000, but increase having more than 2,000 population, then we have more than 6,000 options available for us, just in Punjab province. And you see how much percentage of population can be accommodated in a planned way. The rush and the pressure on Lahore, Faisalabad, Multan, Pindi, Islamabad will be drastically reduced. And the master planning operations which are currently going on, their problem can be reduced to negligible. So the important solution or the finding in very brief words is that we have to create new urban centers. Unless or until we create new urban centers, we can't face the anthropogenic issues, the climate change, the economic crisis even, and the disparities and the poverty within our systems. We can't address them. So we have to create more and more urban settlements. How we can create? The history is witness to that. How many cities we have planned till now? Maybe Islamabad, a few other examples like Jalalabad, and very few examples. We can't create cities like that on new virgin land. We have to create urban centers through evolutionary process, and the evolutionary process lies over there. Upgrade them, invest in these opportunities, and make it happen. They are the real settlements where people are living for hundreds and hundreds of years. They have the capacity, they have the location, they have the environment, and they have the socio-cultural belongings as well. So just empowering them, just giving them higher status, that is of in a hierarchical order of any level of urban centers, we can, I hope, face that challenge. My students applied this approach and vision to a place, to I think Ahmedabad district as well, and they came up with options how Ahmedabad district can be planned in an integrated way, the way Walter Stoller was talking about. And they just came up with two scenarios. One was the scenario through which Pakistan is experiencing at the moment, that if we plan that district for future, say up to 2038, and we keep the urban settlements static, but urban population is growing day by day. So if we take that scenario, you see the urban centers, existing urban centers have such a huge population to deal with. And imagine Ahmedabad's case is not like Lahore. You can't plan everywhere, you can't go everywhere. So it's a valley. So we can't go beyond certain limits. But they came up with some other options. So they applied the same methodology, strategy 1, 2, 3, up to 6, and they set their limits as well. So I'm talking about real data. So they assume that if they give status to up to 2,000, more than 2,000 population village sites, if they give the status, so there is an increasing order. So in 2017, there were 139 villages which had that population, and you give them the status of urban settlements, you take the average average is very manageable. And even if you take other strategies, say, if you just take the villages in hilly areas, in mountainous areas, 10,000 population is a sizable population. If you take that strategy, there were identified 22 settlements which can be upgraded as urban centers, and over the years that level rises to 39 settlements, and you look at the pressure on human settlements. I think this is the way forward through which at macro level we can manage climate change related issues, sustainability related issues, and issues related to at all wider levels in our society. So that was my conclusion in that gathering, that we need to think about. If we will go the way it is happening, the end point is not a encouraging state of affairs. So why not to plan the whole system inclusive of both rural and urban settlements, not that in a dichotomic way, rather on an interdependent way, and that's the finding. Let's go and follow evolutionary process of increasing urban centers and leaving behind the thinking that we can plan and we will plan new cities on barren land and here and there. It is not going to happen. Our economy doesn't support it, our attitude doesn't support it, and I think that is also not a sustainable solution as well. Thank you very much.